Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Robert Beadles, who is a serial entrepreneur and co-founder of Monarch Wallet. Robert, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey, you're welcome. Give us a little bit of background on yourself. I always love the tag serial entrepreneur. So let's dive into how you got your start as a serial entrepreneur and what that picture looks like.
Sure. So I'm a Christian husband, father. I've been with my wife since we were 14 years old.
Wow.
So at 17, we got married. Yeah, we had our first son at 17, so it kind of changed my outlook and the direction I was going in life. I planned on actually going into the military, but finding out that we were pregnant and, of course, marrying my best friend, Nicole, still together 27 years later, of course.
Nice.
And I had to figure out a way to provide for us. So I actually went into construction, and I started off at the bottom and worked my way up all the way to the top. And one day I got into it with the owner. He was a very difficult guy to work with, and he basically told me, hey, look, if you think you can do a better job, go start your own company. So I did. And then I created one of the largest construction service companies in California. And then it allowed me to, around 2009, go back to what I really love to do, in addition to construction, which was software. So I created a software company and started building applications for companies like the United States Post Office. And then I was able to, furthermore, go into blockchain around 2011. Max Kaiser, a really prominent figure in the space, he was telling us how blockchain and Bitcoin was going to save the world. So I started looking into that and started getting into it around 2011. And around 2017, we created the Monarch Wallet, which is a decentralized wallet for people to safely store their cryptocurrency. And then about the same time, a lot of my family and friends, they were asking me to create videos for them and explain how crypto works. So we started doing that. And we've probably done 500 or 600 of these videos and interviews with different prominent people all in the space. And I guess we're like number 5 on YouTube for cryptocurrency. And we have a TV show talking about cryptocurrency. Anyways, I guess and along the way, I've done a lot of other things. I don't know how deep you want to dive into it, but it's mostly construction, real estate, and software that I really found my place and love for those industries.
You know, what I think that I really think that what you said is really huge in this respect. Everything that you touched on was something that you were doing, one thing, and noticed something. So you noticed a trend, let's say cryptocurrency, and then you noticed that, whatever the software you created for the post office. So talk a little bit about an entrepreneur who can be aware of things around them that may or may not be a verified trend that they can jump on, but just how to be creative and innovative in that respect, because I just hear that thread going through your description there.
Certainly. One of the things is a lot of people get either hyper-focused on one thing, and that's all that they do. And then there's other people that kind of have this shotgun approach, and they kind of go in a lot of different directions all at one time. And those people usually, they're usually not very successful in accomplishing one thing very, very well. So it's rare for people to do multiple things and be successful like an Elon Musk or Richard Branson. But when you look at people like, Warren Buffett and others, things are very closely related. And so as you start driving down this road, you start to see signs. And if they don't take you too far off the road, and they're essentially on the same road that you're traveling, maybe just a slight little, right turn or a little merge or something like that, you got to keep your eyes open for things, because a lot of people, especially in technology, they do what's called pivots. And pivot means they started going down one road, and then they realized that it's it's a dead end, but if they turn sharp right, they'll be able to do something else and utilize their technology or whatever they were trying to do. So the main thing is to keep your eyes open and always kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what it is that you're doing. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of current trends. Think of, if you're creating something, think of multiple use cases for it in case the one that you think is going to be, the best or amazing actually ends up being something quite different. So it's basically just being aware of what it is you're trying to do and aware of where it is you're trying to go. Kind of like goals of sorts. You have your vision of like where you want to end up, but goals are kind of like your roadway signs along the way. And as you're hitting these signs or these markers, you know whether you're on the right path or not. So goals are a good way to do this as well. So you figure out where you want to go, and then you create all these little goals along the way to make sure that you're ending up where you want to go. And those are things that help me immensely.
I love the analogy there of goals, because it really is those bite-sized little mile markers. It's not necessarily the 10,000-foot view and doing everything at once and jumping in with both feet. So I think that's a really big piece. We need to have the big goal, the vision, but then break it down into things we can do this week, this month, this year, and track the progress. Don't just assume we're getting closer. Have you found anything specifically that helps you stay focused on the big goal as well as the smaller mile markers in front of you?
So the main thing is your vision. It's kind of like your why. It's kind of like, what is the overarching thing that you want to accomplish or be? That's kind of like your vision. And then these goals that you set along the way, these can change. They're fluid. But you want to at least revisit them at least weekly. Some people do this daily, multiple times a day. I think that's a little much. But if you revisit your goals every week to make sure that you're, number one, going down the road you want to be on, and number two, making sure that your why hasn't changed, or that the goals that you've made, they may need to change a little bit because you're keeping your eyes open and you're looking at the total landscape. And so it's really helpful to reassess things at least weekly. Just set aside a half hour. Make sure that you're still going towards your vision, and make sure that these goals that you've set are still what you need to do to get to your ultimate vision.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that you can get too focused on the goals and you lose sight, of the forest for the trees. And another thing that I personally think is you can, no matter what the pundits may say, set those big, hairy, audacious goals. I think you can set too big of a goal, and you might think, let's make $1 million this year. But if you made 100,000, 10xing your income may very well be a demotivator. Have you ever seen that in your businesses or even people you've worked with?
Well, I'm in a little different school of thought there, where I like to set like monumental goals, like along the way, like really, really huge. And the reason for that is, even like with James Cameron, when he created the Titanic, or when he created Avatar, he basically shot for the stars, right? And he figured, well, even if I only got half of it right, I'm still going to land on the moon. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
If you set them and they're too small, I mean, those are okay. I mean, you can have like daily goals. That's fine. But these overarching larger goals, like say, hey, I want to make $1 million this year. Okay, well, how are you going to do it? Then you need to set, kind of these daily and weekly goals to achieve that one goal. And if you still fall short, well, you're probably monitoring your progress along the way. You're probably doing things that other people aren't. So even if you don't hit the $1 million, maybe you hit 250,000. That's still probably better than doing nothing, and it's still probably better than not setting any goals at all. So it's one of those things where, like you said, they're milepost markers along the road. And so even if you say, hey, I'm going to make it all the way to Florida today, but you only make it to, I don't know, Illinois, you still covered a lot of the country if you left from San Francisco. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. Noticing your progress along the way. Hey, I want to shift gears just a little bit and think about, in today's economy of, I don't know, let's call it the gig economy, the freelancer economy, the concept of becoming an entrepreneur is so different than it was years ago, 10, 15 years ago, because before you had to say, I work at this job. I want to now be an entrepreneur. I quit. Let me start this job and I hope I can make it. And now it is so easy to start that side hustle and become an entrepreneur slowly. Do you find in your businesses you've done that you started, all at once and were all in, or did you do a little bit of slow momentum building while you still had other things going? As far as, people hearing this thinking, I work for a job, I would love to be my own boss, but I don't feel comfortable quitting today and just starting on my own.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there for sure. I mean, like they say, some of the smartest people in the world, they're employees, because it's very difficult to be a successful business owner or to be a successful entrepreneur. You hear the term entrepreneur because people don't realize how much actually goes into it. And there is some safety and security in just being an employee and making really good money. So at the core, the person needs to decide whether they're willing to take that risk and go all in and bet on themselves. For me, when I started the construction service company, I quit that very day when the guy said, hey, if you can do a better job, go start your own company. It took me a year to get all the licensing in place to be able to do it. So in that year, I was an employee making money for another company, learning new skill sets completely different from what I was doing. But that allowed me to have income to support my family while I was getting everything that I needed to create the business. And then once we created the business and we started making, a lot of money, I was able to start doing some of these little side hustles, whether it was real estate or whether it was software or whether it was crypto, because we had enough income coming in to where it wasn't all dependent on that. So for a person, they need to decide, okay, if I'm going to go all in, do I have enough reserves to take care of myself and things like that? Or is this something that I can start on the side and gradually grow it to where then it generates enough money to where I can go all in, quit my day job and do it? So it's a really personal question, and it really depends on their standard of living and how much money they need to survive and what it is they're going all in on and how long it actually takes to do things. Because one thing that people, there's this misconception that there's these overnight successes, but those typically, they're unicorns. They really don't exist. Usually like these overnight successes are 10 or 15 years in the making. When you look at Amazon, they're like, oh, this, it's like an overnight success. It's like, no, that cat was working like in his basement on his hands and knees, back in the 90s, and now he's a household name, but that took him a long time. It took him almost like 20 years or something, 26 years to build what he's done. And there's more cases of that than there are people going all in and being successful. So they just kind of need to decide for themselves what their level of comfort is, how much money they need to survive, and then ultimately, are they going to generate enough money right out the gate to be able to sustain what it is they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I love it. That's super, super good point for those new entrepreneurs to keep in mind. Let me shift gears and kind of go into like yourself. What do you find on a day-to-day basis keeps you inspired and motivated? Because I would suspect being a serial entrepreneur, you kind of struggle with shiny object syndrome in the sense of, ooh, that could be good and that could be good. And then the goal setting, let's tie all that in and speak to when you achieve that goal, it's not the end. You then have to set another goal, and there could be these ups and downs, peaks and valleys of, I'm not inspired to do anything. I just reached that goal. What keeps you going?
So there's a lot of things that drive me. Like I said, I'm a Christian, so I like to do everything ethically and for His glory. And I also, my family is a huge thing for me. I've set a vision, set goals for myself that help me achieve, or at least show the way for me to achieve my goals. And it is difficult because I'm one of those guys that can't turn my brain off, and so no matter what I'm doing or where I'm going or where I'm at, I'm always trying to solve problems or come up with new ideas or invent things. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many patents and trademarks that I have and how many things that I've invented for other companies. I don't know how to turn it off. And so that is a real problem, because if you don't set these goals and you don't know your vision, you'll end up going all over the place. You'll end up going in circles. So it's It is so important to know what it is you're trying to do and to be able to actually say no. No is a very powerful word. It turns people off, but it'll save you because there's so many opportunities in this world. If you chase them all, there's a greater chance that you're not going to succeed in any of them versus you pick one or two, maybe three, and you go after those. So you really have to know where it is you're trying to go. You got to make sure that you allocate the proper time to it, and you got to make sure you don't get distracted along the way, because as you get distracted and start chasing all these other opportunities, the propensity of actually hitting any of them they just dwindle daily. So you got to stay hyper focused and keep your eye on the prize, so to speak.
And what do you think about being hyper-focused and then, again, relating it back to those goals and mile markers? Do you find yourself doing anything like gamification and rewarding yourself? Like, hey, here's my big, hairy, audacious goal, but when I hit this mile marker, I'm going to note it down, and do this, whatever that might be. Go out for the afternoon with my family. Do you ever find yourself doing that type of thing with your goals?
I know a lot of people that do, and, kudos to those people. That's something that's very important, is to stop and celebrate your goals. I'm one of those guys, though, I'm just always hungry. So once I hit a goal, it's like, cool, I clicked that box, I'm on to the next one. I really don't stop and celebrate, and I honestly just, it's probably a character flaw in myself. I'm just always trying to achieve more, do more, be more, and I really don't stop and celebrate until I probably hit my vision.
Yeah, thanks for being honest. That's exactly what we want here, is to get good, relevant, real information. And if you don't do it, you don't do it. And I think too that people need to realize that when they hear, here's what made me successful, or read it, or watch it on a video, or hear it on a podcast, that's wonderful. Does it apply to you? Like there might be people that watch some training that says, to expand your business in your entrepreneurial venture, you must shoot videos every single day. Well, what if you just don't feel that, but yet you can talk, then do a podcast, or you can write, then write a blog post. So I really like that concept. Let's wrap up with one last kind of tip or strategy, and then how can people reach out and connect with you, listen to your podcast, pick up a copy of your book?
Certainly. The best advice I can give anybody is never stop learning. As soon as you do, you're pretty much done. So I don't care how much you think you know or how successful you are. You can always learn something new. And if you're really struggling to figure out what it is you want to be or you want to do, I suggest they start in sales, because anything in life, regardless of what they want to do, boils down to sales. You have to be able to clearly state your idea or what it is you're trying to accomplish to others to get them, involved. So I suggest that they really start learning sales regardless of where they're at. If they're already like a master salesperson, then I suggest they learn more about their industry. If they already know the industry that they're going to
And so, Robert, what is the best way that people can
in that area on top of sales?
Yeah. Sales really is that shining the light on your inner self thing.
They're trying to. Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. You're selling yourself, whether it's for a date, whether it's for a job, whether it's for a product or service. You're trying to get somebody, to buy. Everything in life boils down to sales. So that's one thing that they can use no matter what industry or what area that they decide to go in, whether an entrepreneur or an employee. Sales are just huge. For people to get a hold of me, I'm super easy to find. The easiest way is just to go to cryptobeadles.com. It's just crypto and Beadles, BEADLES.com. Links to all my socials are there, my Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that kind of stuff. Everything is there. I'm super easy to find, as well as a link to the book. And I give away books every Monday live on the air as well.
Awesome. Well, Robert, thank you so much for coming on today. It was great getting to know you, and we'll make sure we have that link to your website in the show notes.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.